Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do begin, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of events have happened. Now, we had Deku and his group. Now, Deku, Kirishima, Bula, Pyra, Oliver, Mogak, and Indra. They were all heading out to Fort Stonefen to try and help out the people who are trying to take out the savage orcs holed up there. Now, they ran into Indra on the way out there, and Izuku, after making his latest invention, the shower, he was in a lot of people's favor at the moment. Now, when they arrived the next morning, Deku, he learned 3 different forms of magic. One he was experimenting with earlier that day and beginning to start to understand. He got transmutation magic wrong, but in doing so, might have discovered a new way to use that form of magic. And he also spec'd into water magic, completing a quest and giving him a level up. Now, when Deku and Kirishima talked to the commander, they learned about what was happening here. The man laughed. These two are barely men. They might be warriors, but they are not as experienced as they think they'd like to be. However, Kirishima, he revealed his unique skill to the man, who didn't believe it could be that powerful. But after Kirishima amped Deku's abilities, he showed off how powerful one of the 4 heroes can be. And Izuku, he felt like he had the power to fight Sir Theodore 12 times over and win. And whenever people saw how much power Deku held in that moment, they felt inspired. They felt like they could win. Fact of the matter is, with what's going on here at the camp, they felt like they were in danger. Alarms have been triggered, people have gone missing. And now, with whatever's in the forest, they need to be careful. It's not just the orcs that are the problem. And this is where Deku and Kirishima have been trying to make a bit of a plan. They have hostages. The fort is on a cliff's edge. There's only one solid way to go in and out. They have no way of knowing their actual force number. And with reinforcements on the way, that does put them in a bit of trouble. If they can't take the fort by then, they're dealing with a possible invasion. Something that could be bad for them. They'll be overwhelmed and forced to retreat. And Izuku, after a bit more back and forth with Kirishima, they decided a stink bomb might be the way to go. With an orc's more sensitive smell, they would be unable to withstand that for very long. If they can get ingredients that are very, very potent in their smell, they can overwhelm them, force them out and into conflict. And by then, it would be too late. They wouldn't waste time releasing their prisoners. They'd run and go. Presumably, that's what they deal with. And right now, Izuku, he called Sir Theodore, and the man gave him a little bit of shit before Deku asked to contact the witch on his behalf. And he talked to Miss Rosita. Now, with that being said, let's currently pick up with Deku. He's walking through the woods. Multiple people are trying to get things ready. The camp is trying to put together what they can. A vile concoction that can be launched at their enemy and force them out. They're already beginning to gather together rotten food, rotten eggs, and a lot of things that are not good at the moment. And Izuku, he's walking through the woods. He's been doing so for a few hours. Apparently, with the entire orc nation being a battlefield, if he does find a corpse lily, it could help out. A flower that emits a potent and powerful smell. Then again, If he does also find a creature in the woods as well, one that can emit a toxic odor, he could add that to the ingredients. I mean, all they would really need to do then is add a little bit of magic and poof, make it something that can be spread wide and fast. Their idea is to essentially make it almost like a liquid. Then when they can, add some fire magic to it, and it will begin to light up almost like a gel. It will be disgusting, but hopefully effective. And that right now is the plan. As Deku does get to use search magic, trying to think about a lot of things that are going through his mind. The enemy is different from what he expected. He's had to grant mercy before. He's done it a few times. But he's met a cursed noble. He met that man who still had his mind. And these orcs, they're different somehow. Smart, intelligent, tactful. They came to a fort and are holed up in it waiting for their backup. These people aren't stupid. They're not mindless. And that does somewhat conflict with Izuku's think. These people are cursed, so they need mercy. But he's met someone who can handle their curse. Yes, he doesn't know much about them, but they were allowed in a room full of people, and there were armed guards everywhere. A cursed noble walked into the same room as him. They were allowed to mingle, to be there. But right now, what they're dealing with is a smart enemy. And that does have him on the fence about a lot of things. Some things that he does know might not be very good. In Izuku, he does hold many concerns back. Before he said turn his head, Reno him gonna take a whiff of the air and walk over, bending down and sing a corpse flower. As he does grab it and go to pick it. Him putting it in his inventory as the smell does still linger in the air. Thinking about it. Okay. He hasn't seen many animals nearby. But like what they said, there's gotta be something vile here. Something terrible. Yeah, that's gotta be it. So what can he do now? Okay. Focusing on the sounds. It's almost entirely quiet. He can hear things in the distance. Small bugs, small animals, but there shouldn't be a reason why things are quiet. Deku turning, hearing the sound of a howl in the distance. And this does make him go to someone grab his dragon blade. Run out him, grabbing the two swords and putting his regular sword in his inventory. Still thinking about a bit. Him fixing them to his waist as he does still have those two daggers as well. Thinking about it. If he is caught off guard, that could be bad. He can feel through the magic in the air. But with this new ability, it's good. Though, now it's making him wonder about a lot of things. He's almost able to see blindly. But he needs to power this ability up. So, spend what available points he does have into it. That would be good, but at the same time, just letting it naturally begin to progress would work as well. He does have potions, so using it a bit more would help. Okay. He'll just have to do that. Deku seeing a pulse to the ground, turning his head as he does hear something. Hearing running water, and then going to turn. Right now, going to head for it and make his way to a river. Before he's bend down and go to bring his hand down. Him dipping it into the water and feeling it. Before he does it, pull his hand back up, It, right now, covered in a small amount of water that does get cling to it. Right now, him bring it up. Before he does, begin to mold it into the air and look around. It's only a few more hours till nightfall. Once that does happen, they need to make a move. Allowing what they have to continuously rot might not be good. If they put it off for a few more days, that's casualties he doesn't want to risk. People in danger he doesn't want to be put in danger. It's just not good. Him staring at the water that's floating in front of him. Before, he has a magical pulse through the area, feeling the fish that do to swim downstream, feeling the trees that do to sit there and feel their leaves moving, feel the insects that do somewhat float through the air, and then going to hear the sounds of somebody walking forwards, them barely into his range. Deku looking up to the right as he has another magical pulse. Him seeing a group of them right now come in to his view. Ida's going to stand and going to bring his hand down, grabbing for his sword as it is flying through the air. It slashing into his blade and going to send him stepping backwards. As he does, going to stand there for a second and going to draw his other sword. And I'll bring up a magical barrier in front of him. That is going to stop many of the bolts that are fired at him. And Izuku does stand there with his weapons ready. Before he does go to turn looking at the magic water that is afloat in the air. Before seeing a water strike firing out that direction. Him seeing a pulse to the ground as there is or someone that comes smashing into his left. Right now him going to take the blow and be smashed backwards into a tree. Before he does a bring up his weapon and they're going to clash with an axe. Him looking up and seeing the eyes of an orc. Before he does go to open his mouth and go to breathe fire directly into their face. Them quite alarmed as Deku, he does gonna push them back. Him gonna roll to the right and gonna bring up his left hand. Right now him taking the attack from another blade. And whenever he does a clash with that, there is where someone does come rushing to his right. Deku throwing his hand up and going to ignite his blade with fire. Him slashing out and going to send them flying backwards, hitting into their armor. Before someone, they come running from his left. Deku turning and bringing his hand up, making a magical barrier as their weapons just smash into it and break through. Deku, quite alone for his bracer, is smashed by his studded weapon. Him gonna move backwards and then gonna fly backwards to the air. Him going to see the orcs, they do come rushing forwards. All of them fast, crazy, wild, and this isn't good. Deku a bit more aware as to what's happened. And he does go to do one simple thing. He activates Spirit and brings his hand up. Before he has sent a magical slash that is flight through the air. It slicing through the trees in front of him and going to attack the orcs. One being taken in the leg before they do go rushing at Deku and their leg is to fall. Him watching them smash the ground as the others do continue their bombardment towards him. Him watching a tree begin to move forwards and fall towards them. Before they do come rushing around and past, Deku turning his head and sending out another pulse. Finding that the 4 opponents in front of him aren't the only ones there. 6 to his left, forward behind him, and another 2 down by his right, his 5 o'clock. He's surrounded. And that isn't good. Right now Deku trying to think, bringing his head up and creating a magical barrier completely around himself. A bubble. And whenever he does, gonna take the attacks from all sides, bolts flying, and then fire magic blasting out into the bubble, he does be sent careening to the right. The bubble flying towards a tree and smashing into it. And Izuku, he does sit there for a second, trying to regain his balance, regain his breath, and steady himself out. Before Spirit does begin to somewhat fade. Someone rushing forwards and smashing this giant bubble. Them going to bring their weapon up and smash it down over and over and over again. Deku turning his head and seeing a 10-foot tall orc who does hold a massive weapon, something the size of his torso. And if that weapon broke through his defenses, it could have caved his skull in. And that, it does make Deku somewhat waver. Before, when they're going to bring their weapon up, Deku does go to throw up his left hand, him opening the barrier and blasting out ice magic directly in their chest, sending a shard crashing into their armor and freezing up one of their arms. Before Deku does a rush forwards and throw his sword in. Right now, him stabbing them through the head before he does a leap backwards. Him going to stand there and begin to look around, trying to gain a bit more awareness of their speed. They're fast. They ambush him. Okay, large one down. Now he just got to his left, bring his hand up and going to take a strike directly to the arm. Before he has a roar out and try to think. Before he has a turn, looking around and not seeing any of the orcs, not seeing anybody. Damn it. No, his armor, it took the blow. Deku going to turn, running away from this battle. Right now he's being overrun. They are everywhere. Okay, search magic. Deku pulsing through the air and find that some are above him. Before he does a turn, spin, and gonna send out a massive wind slash. Him cleaving through the air as multiple trees, they do begin to fall. And the sound of them falling and crashing does gonna emit through the woods. Some people nearby gonna turn their heads, realizing that that is a sound of battle. And Deku, he does get to watch some of the orcs coming running out quickly. And when he does get a better look at them, now he does get to see it. They're gnarly. Their eyes are red. They're covered in battle wounds. They're out for blood. In this, it does alarm him. Before he has to bring his hands up and go to cover his blades in ice magic. Deku throwing his hands up before he does beginning incantation and go to send a magic circle forwards, him blasting out a massive amount of ice magic in front of him. In the area, it does it a freeze. Deku going to send out a pulse and find that he does capture 6 of them. Before one does a breakthrough what Deku did to them. Them rushing forwards and smashing their allies. The ones who took the brunt of the force frozen solid. And they do come rushing towards him. Them going to quickly bring up a blade and slam it down towards Deku. Him going to take the attack and bring up his arm. His gauntlet taking the blow as Deku, he does feel the force behind it. Going to bring his hand up and smash the orc in the face. And they do go to take the punches Deku's to pull his hand back. Someone rushing to his right and tacking him to the ground. As Deku does it a turn, bringing his hand up, clocking the orc and going to roll them over. Before he hears someone behind him, and he does go to use his left hand, throwing it out, blasting out wind and flying to the right. Him rolling off and going to slide. Watching as that orc does a cleave an axe down into his ally's head. Turning and going to look at Deku. Him climbing to his feet, staying there for a minute and trying to think. Before he does go to hold up his left hand and then go to curve it. Before he does going to blast out his fingers. Right now him going to watch as the orc does take the attack whenever ice does a blasting out into him. A shard blasting on his shoulder and one aimed at his leg. Him not even bothering to take the attack. And this does alarm Deku. Before someone does come to his right, swinging around a studded weapon. Him taking the attack to the side as Deku, he does get to feel the force. It is him flying through the air and going to crash to the ground. Before he does going to try and think. His brain speeding up, his mind racing. They're fast, they're strong. They're trying to overwhelm him. Pulse. Deku trying to find it. 5 enemies. That's how many he has. Those 2 and then the 3 behind him. Deku leaping up into the air. Before he does try to take flight and get away. And this, he is able to successfully do. However, he does take a strike to his back. A bolt smashing the back of his armor and trying to penetrate. However, the scale steel plating does get somewhat stop them from doing so. However, the force of that does still somewhat hurt Izuku. Him getting up in the air as he does go bring his hand up, casting a bubble spell around him and going to keep a shield up, opening his inventory and trying to think. Before he has to find the magic horn he does have. Bring his hand up and going to bring it to his lips. Before he does going to manifest, he does to blow the horn. And his allies, they need to hear that sound. As right now Deku, he does have backup begin to arrive. And these orcs, they do get to run. run out of them trying to get away from the area and stay away. And Izuku, he does float there for a minute, looking at this horn and still happy he kept it. He never found a use for it. But right now, calling for backup might be the best thing he can do. Him affixing it to his belt before he has a turn grabbing his shoulder. Seeing that this bolt is somewhat stuck between the plates of his armor, bringing his head up and pulling it out. Before he has a look at the way the head of this bolt is made. It's made to pierce through armor. It's disturbing. And this is where backup does begin to arrive. Kirishima and Bula. And when the two do come running out, they do look around the area. There's ice covering the battlefield. There's trees that have been taken out. And the bloodshed that's here, it is a little disturbing. Right now Deku flying down. And when they do to see him, there is where he does go some clutch at his arm. Him trying to tell them that he was ambushed. He's pretty sure he sent them in a retreat, but this is more dangerous than he thought. Are you alright? I'm fine. They they tried to attack me whenever I was alone. Maybe we shouldn't stay that far away from each other. Yeah, maybe you're right. Though, I mean, are these really orcs? Him walking over, looking down at one and seeing what happened to them. Roy's to turn back and look at Deku. And his expression does won't say it all. This is very disturbing to him. And Izuku, he does try to talk about it. He doesn't know. They were relentless. They just wanted to get his... He doesn't know what they wanted from him, but this just doesn't assure him either. If they're this bad, then whatever's going on in that fort's got to be worse. I see about 10 here. Bula turning, looking around before she could walk over to one, bending down to begin to inspect their belts, wanting to know what they were carrying. And Bula, she does look a little bit more disturbed when she does to pull an ear out of one of the pouches, her turning and going to hide it. As she does go to somewhat lay it down to the ground and on the other side of the body. Her turning back and expressing to them, pulling out a few items that could be useful, that they need to go. Her turning and going to look at one, walking over and grabbing the crossbolt that does go to sit on their side. And she has to talk about it, holding it up. Right now they need to leave. However, that horn. Yeah, what about it? I was wondering who made that noise. It wasn't a signal for retreat. No, it wasn't. I used it. Good. Perhaps then we... Never mind. Let's go. Her walking away quickly. And Izuku, he does see it. When the situation turned serious, Bula got more serious. They're dealing with corrupted people. And he can kind of understand it. They're making her look bad. These are bad orcs. Bad blood. And right now, whatever they do to walk away, Deku, he is a little bit more concerned. Him turning and feeling something. Before he does it, ask Kirishima if he feels that too. What are you talking about? Deku turning his head, seeing a pulse into the ground and going to let it rip into his magic. Him going to watch it spread further and further away, as it does reach 100 feet away. And Izuku, he does pour more magic into that spell. Him going to send it out as the ability does upgrade to level 2. Him going to watch the distance go to 125. And this is where he does begin to pick up on some tendrils Deku fully turning, feeling something crawl up his spine and feel unnatural. And the moment Deku does get on guard and grab at his swords, looking that direction, he does get to tell them, there's something that way. What is it? I don't know. Izuku, you're kind of freaking me out. Bula? Yes. What type of monster has tendrils? What do you mean? What type of monster has tendrils? There's one nearby. Deku's sitting on a pulse, and this time he has to turn his head, noticing that it's less than 100 feet away. No, that can't be right. Him turning his head, looking behind them as he does get to see it. And right now it's bad. As he has a tendril wrap around a tree and then another one, large and massive. Him going to see it. And Kirishima does turn his head. Him looking horrified as Bula does draw her weapon. As right now the three do look at a massive, massive creature. It's a plant. And it has... No, that can't be. Them watching it move forwards as it move over the fallen tree. Before is a grab onto one of the dead orcs and begin to pull it into itself. And the massive flower, it looks like it does a smell. It's green, and they can see bodies poking out of it. The yellow on it. And then it does this one bloom. Them smelling something rancid. In this, it does it'll horrify them. Deku gagging visibly as Kirishima does get to turn his head. And Bula, she does nearly fall to her knees. Right now her being overwhelmed by the smell of that thing. And it does somewhat make her falter. Kirishima turning. Before Deku's to turn as well and tell her to run. Let them know what's going on. This might be the creature that's been harming people. And this, it does cause the two heroes to turn back. Deku going to quickly grab his weapons as Kirishima does do so as well. And the two, they do need a strategy to figure this out. They can smell it from here. And that thing smells god-awful. But if she's having that much trouble, and that's what they want. This creature is what they need. Okay. Plans? It's busy with the corpses. As bad as that sounds. Oh, we can't stop it. We need a second. I learned a new form of magic. I can take care of the tendrils, but you need to take care of by chopping them. I'll draw its attention, you attack then. Okay? You just don't come in yet. You sure? Listen, Izuku, let me amplify us. Amplify yourself. You need to be able to cut through those tendrils and we don't know how strong they are. I'll draw its attention and trap the legs. Afterwards, attack, okay? Him nodding his head, aware that that's the best strategy they can think of at the moment. They don't know anything about this creature. His mentors mentioned a corpse flower before, but this thing is more horrifying than he thought. And right now he's really wishing he saw something else. As Deku's rushing forwards, the creature, turning his attention over Deku, does a blast of a fireball directly at it. It, being struck as Deku, does get to smell the fire burn through the air. Him trying to focus on that as his senses, they do feel overwhelmed. And whenever he does go rushing past it, right now leaping towards a tree, it does go to swing on its leg to attack him. Deku bringing his hand up as he does go to cast his new magic. Deku blasting out raw mana and beginning to cast slime magic. As right now when the matter does begin to transmute and shoot out, it does go to smash onto this thing's tentacle as it goes smash behind Izuku. it being a pull away as Deku does get a turn, bringing his hand up and gonna blast ice directly into its body, for bringing up his right hand and blasting out more magic directly onto the arm. Him coating it as he does a turn, bringing up his other hand and blasting out fire magic. Him hardening the slime and sticking it to the tree, where the creature does throw up more tendrils and try to slash out with two of them. Deku gonna turn, before he has a leap up into the air and then gonna bring his hand up. Right now, him throwing his hands up as he does gonna send out slime slashes down. Him gonna begin coating the creature in this substance. It gonna turn as Deku, he is to be sent flying backwards. Him going to throw his hands up and send a burst of wind forwards. Him trying to cartwheel backwards to the air and get away. Before he goes smashing a tree and he's a leap forwards. Him over the creature's head as it fly towards him with the tendrils. It roaring out and beginning to emit more of this toxic smell. And Deku, whenever he does fly through a cloud of it, he does feel someone begin to burn his eyes. And he does as someone taking a breath, feeling how rancid it does feel. And whenever his skin does begin to somewhat feel like it's burning, he does go to fly through the cloud and smash on another tree. Him turning and grabbing onto it, where he's a turn looking at the creature. Him blasting on the fire and trying to get it to draw its attention towards him again. And Kirishima does just stand there, activating his ability and beginning to amplify his magic. Before he does go to get ready, bring up his weapon and going to charge himself full of magical power. And this, it's good. Right now, he's got to keep himself centered, keep himself ready. And whenever his axe is going to pour with fire, he does go to leap forwards, him going to use as much power as he can to fly towards the creature. And Deku, whenever he does go to immobilize the second tendril, pinning it between two trees, Kirishima does come flying in. The creature, sensing something approaching it fast, turning and sending out tendrils towards Kirishima, who does go to send a fire slash at the creature. It being hit in the chest and going to take two slashes to the body, before he has come rushing forwards and stabbing into it with the axe. Him slicing on the creature's Deku, he does go to turn, bring himself up and going to bring up his weapon, sending out another fire slash, cutting this creature down as the two, they do go to slice this creature nearly in half. Kirishima pulling back as the creature, and it does so roar with life. Deku going to be grabbed by the creature as it does going to wrap itself around his torso. Beginning to squeeze as Deku does throw his hands down and begin to cover the tendril with ice. The creature going to begin to break as Deku does begin to smash down on it and then break free, falling to the ground before crashing and going to sit there for a second, trying to stand up and feeling the effects of this poison flowing through his system. However, he has a suck in a breath and feel a little bit better. Right now, him looking up and blasting out fire magic at the creature, using both hands. In Kirishima, he does begin to do the same thing. And when the creature does begin to go up into flames, the two, they do both go to switch. Deku going to switch to ice magic as they do go to freeze the creature over. Kirishima going to bring his hands up and cast earth magic, crashing a giant boulder down onto this thing. And whenever it does stop moving, their systems do begin to inform them of their experience killing this creature. And that it does tell them one thing. It's finally dead. And Deku, he does get to sit here for a minute. Him breathing a little heavily before he does go to suck in another breath. Feeling a little dazed and a little off. However, the poison, it does finally run through his system. Him going to bring his hand up and look at his arm, since it does look a little odd. It looks a little irritated. He's definitely going to need a healing potion after that. You can only assume everywhere else is like that. His eyes. Deku using healing magic. His vision unblurring a bit more as he does go to stand there for a minute. The pain in his body disappearing. And Kirishima does a turn looking at Deku, who does go to stand up fully and look a lot better. Bring his hands up. Okay. So they need to. This part's not going to be fun. You can't be serious. Yeah, this thing might be what we need. Mixed together with everything else, and I'd say we got one powerful stink bomb. Oh my god. That thing was horrifying. Yeah, it was. I'm still feeling a little dizzy from that. Are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. I just healed my eyes. And my ribs. I'm pretty sure my attack earlier. I feel like I'm going to be bruised for a while. Though I'm going to be okay. Then again, when we get back to camp, we should figure this out. If we can get this thing ready before tomorrow, I'd say that's good. Right. We'll need another plan then. Good. Them going to take the creature's body and begin to take what they need. The flowers here are potent. And, well, yeah. Everything else should be left here. These are warriors who've fallen, and they need a proper resting place. However, right now, they don't really have a lot of time. Kirishima manipulating the earth and the creature being slid underneath before he does go to take the massive pile of earth and go to set it back down. Him trying to smooth everything over as much as possible. However, it's clear something was here. In this, it doesn't look too good. And the two make their way back to the camp. As right now, when they do inform everybody about what they fought against, some are quite surprised. A corpse flower is a horrifying creature. And the fact that these two took it on means quite a lot. And there is even Pyra, who, when she does go running up to Deku asking if he's alright, he does have to try and tell her about what happened. And about the new plans they're going to be doing. And the commander, he does come walking up, hearing about what these two have done, and going to express to them about what they need now. Since if they're going to be creating this stink bomb, they're going to need to do it a bit away from camp. And that is that. And the two, they do understand. However, Zuko, he does even talk about the idea of potentially discarding that, since that smell was enough to nearly bring Bula to her knees. And she was still 100 feet away from it. So, if they can get this thing directly inside the camp, then what they're dealing with would be far worse. You're correct on that. It would save us more time. Time is not of an essence to us. Exactly. Though, we need your mages to get ready with the dome. Yes, that'd be fine. And I do hope that what you're planning does work, boy. Izuku. The man looking at Deku, as he does it to tell him. Right now they're following his plan. He doesn't have one. So, call him by his name. And the man is a turn, looking at Deku and seeing him stand to him. Stand ready to fight to be heard about this. And the man does his own smile, nodding his head before he does walk away. Deku sitting around the fire and going to talk with a few people. Oliver is sitting there as he does try to tell Izuku about a few things, since they did find a few fish for tonight. Though, other than what they've run into, he'd say their night was very uneventful. And Arodos does sit down across the fire, her asking to recount this tale of battle. And Deku's to look up, seeing the woman who does stare at him, her giving him a bit of a smile and expressing that perhaps they can have a proper battle once this is all over. He does owe her a fight. And Izuku, he does stare at her for a minute, her looking down towards her meal and beginning to eat, as he does go to express, perhaps depending on how this does end. And she does nod her head, aware that that can wait. However, her urge to battle him, it increased, especially after the demonstration earlier that day. He's powerful. And if he has the ability to hold that much power with that little fatigue afterwards, it means a bit. Her people, they respect power like that. And she does somewhat think about him as a warrior, quite happy to be here. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.